So we'll talk about a couple more here in a minute. But yeah, getting that Dutch assessed for one thing is how you figure out exactly how to be supporting your body and how to be getting to sleep on time without having, crazy trouble and just helping things go as smooth as possible. So we walk through cortisol, we walk through adrenaline, but there's more. So GABA, this guy is the most calming neurotransmitter in the entire body. So let's not forget that it is the most calming neurotransmitter. This guy allows your body to pump the brakes from your brain to your digestion, your breathing. All these functions get a chance to slow down. And there is an opposing hormone that we'll get into here too that is pretty much the total opposite. It is the most excitatory hormone on the planet. So the adrenaline, the norepinephrine, epinephrine, things that we walked through earlier, that's not the most excitatory hormone. The most excitatory is glutamate. So we'll walk through that. But for GABA here, how you start to get GABA to produce more, it is not like this comes from, a certain spot in the body. This is a conversion step. So this is what it looks like here. And we don't have a direct, production of GABA really. It's created through these conversion steps. So we need GABA over there on the top right from glutamate. So glutamate and GABA are constantly in this back and forth. And like I said, glutamate, the most excitatory hormone, GABA, the most inhibitory. So key difference there. And this is why we want to pay attention to certain foods and lifestyle practices that people are doing because those influence this conversion. They change this conversion. And just simply by eating food allergies and creating a histamine response, you are going to hang on to more GABA, or not GABA, glutamate. You're going to be hanging on to more glutamate. So, for instance, if you are consuming sugar in excess, you're going to slow that conversion down into GABA. So it's actually sugar being the most inhibitory thing for GABA. That's why sugar is very stimulating, right? And GABA is actually stored in the pancreas, and it's highly protective of the pancreas. So the more sugar we take in, we slow that conversion down from GABA, and it hangs out in glutamate, and you can't convert that over, which is not good at all. But also the histamine portion of that too. So we'll get into that. But yes, how do we now start to look at creating more of this GABA conversion is going to be one of my favorite things. Somebody with like that CompT issue, they will not take this very well, but valerian. And in terms of how you improve and normalize those conversion steps into GABA, valerian root is the dominant character here. And again, this is not a cure-all. Even so, the 10 to 15% of people that have that CompT gene SNP or mutation there are going to really struggle with this. So instead of feeling calm and relaxed, you're going to be amped up like crazy. I've seen that with patients and certain people. It's really hard to tell. That's like one thing that's super hard to test for, but really cool how you can do one little herb here and fix a whole loop. So that's why that Dutch test is even cooler because now it's saying, okay, is this more of a GABA issue? Is this more of an epinephrine or adrenaline issue? Or is this more of a cortisol problem? And where do we need to help support the body? And obviously, looking for the inflammatory stressors, like that Dutch test is super cool. But if you're not doing the baseline inflammatory testing, you're going to be kind of running in circles for a while. You need to find the causal factors of these things. So there's that. And then we have, aside from the valerian, we have alcidonia, which this guy a little bit different, but a powerhouse for actually getting GABA into the system here. And that's honestly one of the only wellness way blended herbs that we have. So there's L-theanine in there, there's passion flower in there, there's GABA in there, and somebody that doesn't handle the valerian very well, Passion flower is pretty much your next best bet, um, because you're not going to run into that same issue there. But either way, oh no, I missed a slide here. But some other things too. Okay, no, we got it. Um, but for the people that fall asleep fine, but they keep waking up in the middle of the night, um, at like a consistent time, that can be, and you've heard me talk about this a ton, is that blood sugar spiking too early. So for people that are eating food too close to bed, once your insulin starts coming back down in the middle of the night, cortisol has to ramp back up. So we are getting a bunch of glucose dumped back into the system there. So that is partially from a blood sugar dysregulation issue. So late night eating, those are problematic and pretty much one of the number one things. But another one is people that are waking up to pee in the middle of the night. This is not something that should happen. People don't realize, like, wait, it's not normal to wake up and pee every single day. No, that is not normal. If that's happening, there's obviously some issues here. And of course, we got to think about the prostate. We got to think about blood sugar being thrown off. Some people will have like joint pains and things that keep them up and twisting and turning. But another thing is to look out for issues that can happen with the kidneys. So if that's the case, um, I didn't. That's the slide that I didn't put in here, but something like albesia, that could be a key one, just to help somebody out with that conversion step and helping the kidneys dilate, helping things move on through. So, oh no, I did put her in here. Okay, no, I thought I did, but I didn't. But either way, there is that kidney support, and if somebody has issues with blood sugar regulation, you can do something like gymnema. But aside from that, um, let's get this guy back up. We got some other miscellaneous things in here too. So CBD, pretty darn cool here. This little guy, and it's by working on these different pathways because the terpenes in here, flavonoids, got vitamins, minerals, even some fatty acids in there too, amino acids, but overall stabilizing the inflammatory cycles during detoxification, helping with nervous system regeneration. You even have an entire endocannabinoid system inside your body that's helping to support both the nervous and immune systems and acting on different receptors for even things like depression too. So if somebody's trying to combine a couple different things here, you can do some CBD with kava and have a really cool effect there, and almost kind of double the effect that you can have by just doing one of those things alone. But aside from that, we have the different varied things that can happen there with whether it be cortisol, epinephrine, GABA, the histamine responses, the sugar dysregulations, the circadian rhythm that can be thrown off. So key stuff to be looking at and measuring. And then, of course, tailoring somebody's foods to these things too. So in terms of the foods, we got cherries and walnuts actually maintaining some melatonin in there, which is super cool. If you haven't eaten them already, it's almost 8 p.m. Eastern time here. So definitely time to start getting some cherries and things in there. But then you got pumpkin seeds, obviously fatty based fish, the tryptophan that you can get from something like turkey, so that you can convert that into serotonin, which eventually becomes melatonin. Pretty cool. And avocados on there, really just for the potassium for one thing, but it is pretty much a pound for pound best magnesium rich food that is out there. So pretty cool in terms of all the crazy things that you could be doing with these. And now let's open her up for our health question and answer. Actually, let me change my settings here. Hopefully the stream doesn't crash. Okay, I think we did that successfully. Let me check the sound. Yes, perfect. I thought we were going to blow the system up there for a minute, but we're good. We are good. Okay, cool. Well, hey, let's get into some of these things. And obviously, you guys are asking good questions all the time. So, why do I crash after morning coffee instead of feeling energized? So maybe it is from that cortisol spiking up like crazy. and maybe it's from something to do with the adrenaline there. That's where testing the adrenals to see, okay, well, which of those two scenarios are we looking at, and how do we support that particular person? Um, Maybe you could do a little mix of the kava and the California poppy that we talked about to just help the burden there and help calm that crazy response. Obviously, changing up the source where you're getting caffeine from can definitely be beneficial. Um, so something like, green tea, matcha, stuff like this that's not going to have that crazy response that you will from coffee. I will say though, um, and this even for, let me get our banner up for this guy, the Equip Foods, these guys have the cleanest of and best price source of clean coffee to get. So that is third party tested for mold, for pesticides, for herbicides, and you can get 15% off here by using that little code down below. Um, but if not, oh, why can't I click on this? Submit the health questions. I'm just trying to bring up that banner there. But yeah, that crash, it's from probably some issues with sugar and then taking in too much caffeine, or even, you got to switch up the form of caffeine that you're doing and the amount, because that can certainly be problematic for a lot of people. But getting probably that Dutch test ran so that you can know, okay, what do we have to do? But it's more of a weak adrenal thing than it is from like too much, you know, caffeine, so to speak. It's how your body's handling these things. Why do I feel more tired after working out? Another tired question. Get your sleep challenge going, folks. Why do I feel more tired after working out instead of energized? So exercise is a stressor. People kind of forget that. But if your adrenals, if your mitochondria, and your body's constantly being depleted from having too much stress occur, now we can kind of run into the other direction there. Um, so the recovery aspect is the issue here, and you're staying drained longer than you are kind of replenishing. This is where I like doing something like an inversion table, definitely doing something like a Dutch test, looking for baseline nutritional deficiencies there too through some blood work, um, and supporting with probably something like liver glandular. Let me show you guys here too. Let's get our fancy little pictures up. This guy, get some liver glandular going, because now you're getting pretty much the most whole food form of the most dominant multivitamin out there on the planet. So if it is from a nutritional deficiency, that is somewhere to look in the beginning. But yeah, I wonder if you're eating enough. And if it's a female asking the question, then you probably want to tailor certain foods and exercise patterns with your cycle there. So send me an email. I'll give you all the free guides and graphics and some key advice to tailor everything to there. But why do I get random itching with no rash? So this still can be a histamine issue, even if you're not having a rash occur from that. When your body starts to detox things and it's not getting them out, it's very irritating for the skin, for the sensory receptors of the skin and joints and things there.